Nick, Essen has come and gone.
I know.
We've talked about games we are excited for from Essen. Now we've heard a little bit more about those games from Essen. These are the top 10 games we want to really play that came out at Essen.
What's up, everybody? My name is Nick.
I'm Mike.
We are the Brothers Murph, and that's right. Essen is over. We kind of, certain games you're like, okay, we had a bunch of friends who went to Essen.
Yeah.
We didn't get a chance to go, but we're like, oh, now we kind of heard back from a bunch of
some of
different
their
people.
posts
and
about
we're kind of like, ooh, so these are games that release at Essen that we're now even more excited for than just the anticipating, like, ooh. So let's get right into it, huh?
Let's hop into 10 games from Essen we really want to try. So number 10 was something that I didn't know was going to have any sort of content for. It's a bonus box for Targi, actually. So not its own standalone game, of course. You need to have Targi or Targi with the expansion to play. But it's kind of a celebration of 10 years of Targi, where they give you wooden bits if you don't already have the BGG upgraded bits, which you should do because they're great. And it also comes with a few cards that add just a little couple modules to the game. So that's something I kind of was surprised by. I was like, oh, I didn't hear about that during the kind of anticipation list of Essen, but we quite like Targi. We actually just recently got into playing the expansion, which for us is like a game changer. And now I'm kind of like, well, if there's a couple different edge cards that create these modules, I kind of want to see what that is. And it's compatible with the the versions of the game that exist and stuff. So I'm kind of like, maybe I kind of want that because it was a lovely little surprise. That is the Targi de bonus box.
So our number 9 is a game called Oros, and I believe this game is being brought over to the US by Lucky Duck Games, which is awesome. And so this is a game where you are kind of given this ancient knowledge by the gods, and you are trying to bump up all these different tracks. And if you know anything about Mike and I and what we love doing, especially in these kind of like Euro game kind of things, is we love bumping tracks. You can do a whole bunch of different actions in the game. You also have this like really big, beautiful player board. This game as a whole is just really, really pretty, and we really would just want to play it based off the looks alone, but it also looks like it has a whole bunch of different stuff that we like because you have a kind of central player board and you can put pieces out onto the central player board and you're kind of building out this main board kind of Carcassonne style, and you can move around and warp around to the other side of the world. It just looks really, really cool. It's a game that looks like it's got a whole bunch going on, and it's just really, really pretty. And again, the production value looks absolutely outstanding. It's like dual thick boards. Again, you have a really big player board, you have the main board. It just looks really, really good. And so we know Lucky Duck pretty well, so I think they're bringing this over, and I'm really, really excited because Oros seems really, really cool. And I also love that kind of theme, like kind of like the gods are giving you ancient knowledge and you're bumping up these tracks to try to gain that knowledge. I think it's a really cool concept, that kind of situation where you have either like aliens or some kind of god or ancient being or something like that giving you knowledge that you're then trying to use to usually bump up tracks and do Euro game stuff. So Oros seems super, super cool. I'm super excited to play it. It's our number 9.
Number 8 is Joan of Arc, the Orléans draw and write. So this is a draw and write, a flip and fill, roll and write version of Joan of Orléans, rather. And in this game, you're going to be pulling followers out of a bag, which is very much what you do in Orléans. It's a bag building game. But you're going to be pulling these followers out of a bag that then get drafted by the players. So not everyone's going to have their own collection of followers like you would in Orléans. And from these followers that you draft, you're going to be able to work on various areas of the game that are kind of very Orléans. You're moving stuff around, doing deliveries, you're building stuff, kind of developing those technologies and all of that. So I'm always curious about roll and write games or flip and fills that are meant to replicate a kind of what I would call a parent game. So something like Rajas of the Ganges, the Dice Charmers, for example. I'm always so intrigued by that because I'm always like, okay, how are you going to give me everything that I want from Orléans and also carve a little bit of your own path? That might be where Joan of Arc factors in and stuff. So this is one I'm just like truly curious about. I love the kind of bag building mechanism of Orléans. I'm really curious in how that plays out in a roll and write where you're going to then draft followers. So I feel like I have a little bit more control over what I get or use because I can draft them. but you ultimately still have that kind of randomness from the bag. So this is another one that kind of falls into the pure curiosity. And I know I like Orléans, so I very much will likely enjoy the roll and write version. That is Joan of Arc, the Orléans draw and write.
Number 7 is a game that I have been so freaking curious about since the moment I heard it, and this is Deal with the Devil. Deal with the Devil is a game by CGE, and this is a game where it's like I believe 4-player only, or maybe 3-player only, but it's got like a higher player count, and you have to play at that player count, which I actually respect in a game. To be like, no, you have to play like this. We're not gonna make all these kind of crazy, frankly subpar ways to play the game. When really, this is a 4-player game. I actually really appreciate that. But this is a game where you are trying to deduce who is who. One of you is the devil, one of you is like a cultist, and one of you is like a normal human, and you are doing deals with the devil, and you have these, I frankly don't know how they work, but you actually have these little like envelopes, and you're putting stuff in these little envelopes. You're putting different things, different deals that you're making, and you'll close it, and then you will like scan it on an app, and the app somehow knows what's inside there. It can like just see inside or something. I don't really know. And then basically, if you're the devil, you're trying to gather people's souls. If you're like the cultist, you're trying to give away your soul, which I think is hilarious. And then if you're like one of the humans, you're trying to not have your soul be taken. And so the problem is only the app knows who everyone is, and only the app kind of knows what's going on. So the whole time you're trying to convince everyone you're not the devil, and you're trying to do these different things. And it just seems, I fundamentally don't understand how this game works, but that makes me more excited about it than it does make me I'm cool. You know, it seems, I just want to know how the envelopes work. It seems super, super cool. We've talked about it with CG before, and I'm just so excited to try it because I'm just so curious. I'm so curious about Deal with the Devil. From the moment I saw it, I thought it was like, what is this? What is this game? And I'm very, very excited to try it. It's our number 7 because it's just sheer curiosity.
So our next game is Revive. This is a game that challenges you to try to revive Earth 5,000 years after kind of the collapse of man, as it were. So this is a game where you're going to be kind of exploring the now kind of frozen landscape, and you're going to actually be uncovering tiles and things as you sort of learn to kind of harness Earth's resources once again. And there's also the element of trying to tap into ancient technologies, which would be our technologies today are now ancient technologies, and try to learn from history and kind of reboot civilization. So this is a game that I think is an interesting theme. I think it's interesting to go forward and say like, hey, we didn't really make it. There's some survivors and stuff, which we're trying to kind of recruit and get this thing going again, and trying to hopefully learn from the past and build a fruitful future for ourselves. This game has crazy production. You have this amazing player board. We have these discs. You're moving around and doing different things, building out cards. There's a bunch of asymmetry built into the game. You're uncovering stuff on the central board. There's just a lot of like goodies, for lack of a better word, where I'm like, I want to play with all the things. I want to even try all the stuff. And the theme is really interesting for this kind of this frozen board to start, and you're kind of uncovering and digging in and hopefully reviving the planet and hoping to be the best at reviving it. So that's a game that I'm really intrigued by the theme, and of course the production does not hurt one bit. It is very lovely seeming, and I want to dig into Revive.
Number 5 is a game that I think was at the very, very top of the Essen hotness list when BGG had their own Essen list, Essen preview list. I'm pretty sure this was the number 1. And this is Hamlet. Hamlet is a game where you're building out a Hamlet. You're putting out these tiles, and it just looks like a lot of those games that we like. It's tile placement. Tile placement is something that's probably our favorite mechanic. Definitely Mike's. Mine might still be worker placement. But it's a game, but one thing that's cool about the Hamlet and the tiles you're placing out is they're not your normal tiles. They're not like square tiles, they're not hex tiles, but they're also not like polyomino tiles. It's not like it's Tetris and you're putting stuff together like that. They're just these kind of weird shapes, and you're putting them together, building out this Hamlet. And it just looks really, really nice. It also looks really, really pretty, which is really, really nice. This is just kind of like following in the line of like, at least as far as we can see, we haven't played the game yet, right? It seems to be falling in the line of like good tile placement games that aren't like too complicated, aren't too heavy, and look really, really nice. And that for us right now is kind of a slam dunk with a game that we don't have to like prepare to play, but looks really, really nice and has tile placement. And I just think it's nice that the tiles are just slightly different, and the way they kind of work together and how you have to place them next to each other is just slightly different. Makes it a little bit more interesting in terms of the tile placement part of it. And I think that's really, really nice. Hamlet is a game that a lot of people are very, very interested in. And yeah, we're interested in it too. Again, a lot of people played it at Essen, and overall the consensus has been pretty good. So we're actually really excited to try this one.
Number 4 is about being a contemporary of Mozart and trying to sort of say, like, I was Mozart's best friend. This is Lacrimosa. You're trying to finish the Requiem that Mozart did not complete before passing on. So in this game, you are sort of managing different goals. You're trying to say that, hey, like, I had a lot of good times and fun memories with Mozart, and recounting those memories and all the times that you palled around. You're trying to fund the completion of the Requiem, because it's the great final work of Mozart that people must hear. You're trying to help Mozart's wife get the kind of story out and stuff like that. So you're just sort of trying to say, like, I rubbed the best shoulders with Mozart, which I think is like an interesting theme that, you know, we open with the kind of the end and work our way backward and move forward through time from there. So in each kind of round of the game, you're going through, starting with the early days, the middle days, and kind of the later years of Mozart's life. And again, you're trying to talk about, through moving around on the board and bumping up tracks and stuff, trying to say that you were kind of the most influential, you were the kind of person who was in the room where it happened with Mozart, to essentially gain the most kind of prestige you can. Because if you can say that, like, hey, I sort of helped make Mozart what he was, it's pretty good for your social standing in life. So this is one that we've been wanting to try. We actually have a copy of it over here. We just have not had a chance to get it down to the table yet. But it's one that thematically is just really cool. It's really cool to have a game that is set after Mozart passes, and then still include the kind of the story of the music and everything, but from that kind of memory perspective, and from, you're playing this person over here on the periphery and kind of trying to show how a part of it you were. I just think it's an interesting theme. I have not really seen a theme like that before. So that's Lacrimosa next on our list of games from Essen we want to try.
Number 3 is a game that we will be excited for always, just because of the designer. This is Woodcraft, which is by Vladimir Suki. Vladimir Suki did a lot of our favorite games. We absolutely love the Prodigals Club. We love Pulsar 2849, Prague Kaput Regni, Underwater Cities. Vladimir Suki does games that we like, kind of bigger, heavier Euro games, a lot of times with really cool themes on top of them. Prodigals Club is one of my favorite games of all time, and one of the main reasons because I love the theme. And Woodcraft has got a really cool theme as well, where you are these like woodland people. It's kind of unclear whether or not you yourself are made out of wood, but you're essentially these woodland people, very humanoid people, and you are going to be building different woodshop items like chairs and you know, tables and all this, just stuff you build in the woodshop, stuff out of wood. And this is a dice mitigation game where you have different colored dice. You have green, yellow, and brown. Green is like the least valuable, yellow is middle, and then brown is like your rich mahogany kind of wood. And you are getting these dice to fulfill these contracts. These contracts are going to want you to build, again, certain things like, oh, you need 2 green dice, a yellow die, and a brown dice, and all those will have specific pips on them. So you need like a 1 and a 3 of green, and you need those exactly, 1 and 3. You can't like overpay with a 4 or 5. But a big part of the game is using your woodshop tools. Like you have a big old saw, meow, and what you can do is you can cut a die in half. And then you can take like a 6 brown die and you can make it into a 4 and then a 2. And you get to cut your stuff in half. You can also take little bits of scrap wood and then glue them onto a die to increase the pip value. It's just, you can take different kinds of woods and glue them together like that and then make even more. It's just so freaking cool. I love that theme, and I love the idea, like the woodworking theme is something you don't really see very often in games, and I think it's awesome that this whole thing is about it. And it's also, again, in this kind of weird like woodland area where, like, again, you're not really people. The money in the game is blueberries, which is stupid cute. And yeah, it just seems really, really cool. Woodcraft is like, it's Vladimir Suki, so we're already immediately interested and already like 99% sure we're gonna like the game. And it's got a really cool theme, and it just looks like there's got a lot going on. It also looks like it's got a really interesting action selection system, which is something that Vladimir Suki does very, very well. We love the action selection system in like Prague and Kaput Regni. This one doesn't look exactly like that, but it's just different. It's a different way you choose to do axes. I'm already just like, Vladimir, take my money. You already got it. Super, super excited for Woodcraft. It just looks right up our alley. And blueberries for money? Come on.
Number 2 is Atiwa. This is another Uwe Rosenberg game. We love us some Uwe Rosenberg. That is not news to anybody at this point. This is a game about fruit bats in Africa and the relationship that local folks made with the fruit bat population, because once upon a time there wasn't really the understanding of the kind of ecological effects of having these bats. They were seen as pests, because I get it, they're eating your fruit and stuff, and you're like, dude, that's lame, like I want my fruit. And so they would kind of chase them off, or they would try to hunt them for their meat, which was not very good. They're not good eating per se. And they kind of figured out and learned from their leader that, like, hey, these bats eat this fruit, and then they go, and as they're going out and spreading around and flying and stuff, they're pooping and dropping seeds and stuff, which help grow entire regions of these very fruitful trees and stuff, and these amazing harvests. So let's not get in the way of that. Let's try to harness that. Let's try to encourage, a healthy population of these bats so that we can all flourish, I think that's something that's so cool, something that has actually happened on Earth, and something that I think we can continue to try to learn and carry forward. Just realizing that, like, hey, nature's pretty good at taking care of itself, and it does a lot of really cool things if we just sort of get out of the way and let them happen. I think this is really interesting and important lessons to learn from that. So Atiwa is something that, of course, we love Uwe Rosenberg. Worker placement, card play stuff is going to be really interesting, but like I'm all in on the theme and the kind of story that it tells, because I think it's really cool. I think it's really, really cool that these people are like, oh, this is actually like a huge benefit for us. Let's make sure we encourage, nature to kind of thrive here, because everybody wins when that happens. I think it's a beautiful thing. And I really want to try Atiwa. Looks cool. The bats are adorable. They have little bat meeples, beeples, bat poles, whatever you want to call them. I want to play it.
And number 1 is number 1 because honestly, it's been a while since I've been excited for a Days of Wonder game, and this is Heat. Days of Wonder for a long time was like the absolute pinnacle, where they had incredibly good production quality and super, super solid games. And every year they basically have one game that comes out, and it was always just these smash hits. You had like Memoir 44, you had Ticket to Ride, you had Five Tribes, you had all these games out after over and over and over, and Quadropolis over and over and over again. They just were super, super solid. And then it kind of felt like they fell off for a little bit. I don't think it's so much that they fell off so much as I feel like the rest of the industry kind of caught up to Days of Wonder, where their production quality and their quality of games was kind of more normal than it was before. But I don't think I said the name of this game. This game is Heat, by the way. I'm really, really excited for Heat. Heat is a Days of Wonder game, a big racing kind of Formula One Days of Wonder game that seems really, really cool, because you are racing around a map like you do in racing games, but kind of like these other racing games, you have to pay attention to how fast you're going. You can shift up and down. You're playing out these cars, shifting up and down, but then as you go around corners, you can only go around corners certain speeds, which makes sense. You don't want to spin out. And then as you're like really cranking around these corners, you're going to be spending these heat cards. And to go around a certain corner, you might need to turn in like 3 heat cards. If you don't have enough heat cards, you will spin out. And spinning out apparently is like really detrimental in this game, so you don't want that. So again, racing games work in that way because they're so interesting in that towing the line between like how fast can I go through this straightaway, but then I need to pull it back to go around this like really hairpin turn. And I know there's 4 maps in the game, which is also like really, really great with racing games like this. Like give me different maps because it's really going to change up the game. And it just seems super interesting. On top of the maps, there's also like a bunch of different modules. There's like a way to make it kind of like a campaign game. There's a way to make it like super competitive. There's a way to play with like AIs, and apparently the AIs are like really, really good. So if you're playing like a 2-player game, you can have like 2 AI cards, and apparently they're like really good too. And so like it just looks really cool. It's got Vincent Dutrait art, and it's just, frankly, it's the first time I've been excited for a Days of Wonder game in like a number of years. I think the last game, Days of Wonder game that I was like really excited for was Yamatai, and that one kind of fell flat for us, unfortunately. And so it's been a little while. They keep coming out with Ticket to Ride stuff, which is great. I love me some Ticket to Ride, but a new game from Days of Wonder, it's been a while since I've been really excited for one, and we're really, really excited for Heat. It looks great. It's got so much variability in the box, and it's our number 1 because we've been hearing great things, and it just looks really, really good.
So those are some games from Essen that we really, really want to try.
Yeah.
So bad.
We really do. Yeah, it's sometimes they take a little bit to get over here. I really do. We're hoping to go to Essen this year. Next year, where I really, really, really want to go, just because I would love to be able to try so many of these games. It's just still the biggest con in the world, and it's just so many games are released.
Absolutely.
At Essen. I want to go to like all the little booths and stuff like that and see kind of the publishers that you don't know about because maybe they're from a different country or something like that.
Exactly. There's a whole side of the world of gaming that we are just barely aware of, and it'd be really cool to learn, learn more about board gaming culture as a whole. So those are 10 games from Essen. Of course, there were so many more games that came out. Those are a few that we want to try. Let us know games that came out in the fall or in Essen specifically that you really want to try or on your want to try list, maybe for the holidays or something like that. Hit us in the comments with those. And until next time, I am Mike.
I'm Nick.
We are the Brothers Murph. That was our top 10 games from Essen we really want to try.
Bye, everybody.